Welcome to the next video on my channel. Today I'm gonna show you my first game ever played against the Grandmaster over the board. So this game was played in an open tournament in round 1. And yeah, my opponent was a really strong Grandmaster, rated over 2600, and he started with first d4, where we played d5 and c4, so Queen's Gambit. And yeah, the bad thing with first round is that I couldn't prepare, so let's see what he does. I played d6, and now he played knight f3. There are many other moves possible. For example, you could play knight c3, really common. Then I would have gone c6, and after knight f3, for example, I would have gone for the Notenbaum variation. Really interesting variation where you try to protect the c4 pawn as long as possible. So for example, if, I don't know, e3, then you play b5. After a4 you go bishop b4. And yeah, this line is really interesting and continues like, for example, bishop d2, now you go a5, takes, you need to take the knight, because otherwise the pawn on b5 is just hanging. Bishop takes, pawn takes, b3. You obviously can't take because of bishop takes b5 check. And you can't play b4 because of bishop takes b4, and then the rook is hanging, so you can't take back the bishop. And you have to play bishop b7, bc, and b4. And after bishop b2 and, for example, knight f6, we have a really interesting position where white has the center and black has some dangerous outside pawns. And yeah, quite interesting line, but my opponent didn't went for knight c3. Another variation that often happens is, for example, e3 to protect c4 already. Then I would have played c6, and after that f5 to go into a stonewall, into the stonewall system. I only played a stonewall if white already played e3, because the advantage for black is that the bishop of the white bishop is still in there, still not developed, and can't be developed to f4 or g5. So this bishop is not particularly good because all the pawns are on black squares, and yeah, so then I would have gone f5. But okay, my opponent played knight f3, and I of course played c6, so after knight c3 we can play dc and go into the Notenbaum. But my opponent surprised me and played bishop g5. So this was, this really surprised me, and I felt bad because I never faced this move before and couldn't prepare for the game, so I don't know if he played this already. Okay, so I considered my choices, and I think they're like, I considered 3 moves. I considered playing f6, I considered playing bishop e7, and I considered playing knight f6. Okay, first of all, f6 doesn't look right to me, so I only thought for about a few seconds about s6, because this just weakens the king and takes away the f6 square for the knight, so I don't think f6 is too logical. So next I thought about bishop e7. Bishop e7 is probably completely playable, or not only probably, it's completely playable, but I don't like bishop e7 because all my pawns are on light squares, and if we trade dark squared bishops, yeah, in the future my black squares could be quite weak, and yeah, I was a bit afraid of that. And yeah, I think I like white here because he can play e3, so all his pawns, almost all his pawns in the center are on black squares, and he has a white squared bishop, so yeah, I like white here, and so I didn't went for bishop e7, but okay, it's probably playable. So I went knight f6, but I was not too happy with it, because usually I don't play knight f6. I go, as I already said, for Notenbaum or stonewall if possible, and not I don't include knight f6 usually. So yeah, this was a bit of a bummer for me. But anyway, the game continues. He plays knight bd2, defending c4 and developing naturally. I played bishop e7, e3, so the next few moves are all quite logical. I castled, he played bishop d3. Now you probably could make an argument for taking on c4, but I wanted to develop my bishop, so I played b6, also preparing later maybe c5, and bishop b7 or bishop a6, probably bishop b7. He castled, I played bishop b7, so I can play maybe in the future c5, and maybe put a knight on e4. And now he took on d5. So the next critical point for me here, I can take back in many ways. I could have played cd, but cd doesn't look too logical for me, because then my bishop on b7 is not really strong. I mean, it's looking at his own pawn, and knight e4 was my plan, but still then the pawn will occur on e4 and my bishop is still blocked, so cd yeah, isn't really a move, I think. And also you want to play c5 later on, and after cd you obviously can't play c5. So I thought about queen d5, but yeah, I think it's a bit too early to play queen takes d5, and you will get many moves with tempo. So for example, e3, e4 is coming, or maybe bishop c4, whatever. So I don't think queen d5 is too good. And knight d5, as I already mentioned, I don't want to really exchange those bishop yet. And the problem with knight d5 is also that e4 is coming with tempo sooner or later. So yeah, so I decided to play e takes d5, and with the plan to play later on c5. My opponent played knight e5, pretty logical move. I think white's idea should be to attack my c6 pawn, or within that try to occupy the c file with his heavy pieces. For example, rook c1 is probably played. Question is which rook will go to c1. It's always hard to decide. Okay, and my plans are probably to play c5 and to go knight bd7. So I played knight bd7 already, and now I thought, yeah, I'm threatening to take on e5, and my opponent don't really want to take back with the pawn, so he probably plays knight e3, knight f3, knight d to f3, or f4, or bishop f4, but I don't believe bishop f4 is played, so you know, mainly expecting knight f3. And now my opponent really surprised me, and yeah, I mean, now the next move was, as I already said, was really surprising to me. So my opponent played queen to a4, and I was really confused about this move. I thought, what is he doing? But this move is actually really clever, and it personally showed me how strong my opponent is. So yeah, I would have never thought of queen a4, but queen a4 is actually a good move against knight takes e5. So I calculated knight takes e5, and the problem with knight takes e5 is that knight takes e5, d takes e5 runs into knight e7. Of course, my knight is attacked, and now the really strong move queen h4, a move that can be easily overlooked, because yeah, at least my experience is that even weaker players often overlook such long queen moves, and yeah, I almost did so too. And the problem is now that my bishop on e7 is hanging, and if I take on g5, then queen h7 is checkmate. So queen a4 is a really tricky move. And after queen h4, in this position I'm just lost. So luckily enough for me, I saw that, but okay, this means I can't take on e5, and then queen a4 is still a good move, because queen a4 already looks at my c6 pawn, so it's already attacked twice, and he can put a rook on the c file, and then he can pressure me really well. So yeah, I thought queen a4 would have was a really good move by him. And yeah, I played queen to c7. I'm not particularly happy with my choices here, but I have to do something. I have to make sure that my rooks are connected and that my pawn on c6 is obviously protected. And now I'm threatening to take on e5 because after de I can take back with the queen and win a pawn. So okay, my opponent obviously saw that and played knight df3, and yeah. Now I thought I went for a clever plan, which I now don't really think it was a clever plan though. Which I will. The thing I really don't like or dislike about my play in this game is that I never played really c5 in this game, and yeah, my whole setup is built for playing c5. So it's really ridiculous to not play c5, but I always thought it might be too much to play c5 because you will play rook to c1 then the c5 pawn is pinned, and I always didn't look deep enough to calculate c5 probably. So yeah, that was really weird, or a really bad mistake by me. I played bishop d6. I wanted to exchange some pieces because okay, I'm the lower weighted player, and I thought if I exchange some pieces, then yeah, my pieces in general have more squares, and I probably can push someday c5. So I was always thinking like, yeah, I will push c5, but I actually never did. So this was really bad. Okay, bishop d6, knight takes d7. This knight was attacked many times, so you have to take it. Knight takes d7. Okay, I don't want to have a doubled pawn on the f file. And now rook a to c1. And now again I made a really dumb move in my opinion. I actually had to think a while now that I'm looking again at my game why I played it. I played in this situation a6, and I don't think a6 looks ridiculous, but okay, I played a6 because I thought my opponent would play b4 and maybe then queen b3 and then try to play b5 to attack my c6 pawn again and pressure along the c file. So probably b4, queen b3, rook c2 and rook c1. Thought that would be the plan for white here. So I considered I will stop b5 and then maybe play c5 myself someday. Which, yeah, I often enough said now that I never did. Okay, I played a6, really bad move. Starting to put all my pawns on white squares, even though I have a bishop on b7, so this bishop is really weak, and yeah, it also weakens my b6 pawn a bit. So a6 is a terrible move in my opinion. Okay, my opponent played rook c3 as expected, trying to double up on the c file, putting more pressure on my c5, my c6 pawn. But now I should have played c5 and tried to go for something like this, or even if he don't takes, then I can play c4 and in combination with b5, this isn't too bad. Then I have knight b6 to protect my c4 pawn, and yeah, I really should have gone c4 here, c5 here, solves at least some of my problems, and just c5 is trying to go for active play, so that's really what I should have done. Instead, after rook c3, I went for rook fe8. Probably not a bad move, but not the best move either. Occupying the half-open e-file and probably stopping some e4 ideas, and planning to go rook ac8 next to protect my c6 pawn. After rook fc1, I played another move that is connected to rook e8. So rook e8 makes a square for the knight on f8, so I played knight f8. The good thing is my c6 pawn is not really hanging because of course my bishop is protecting it, so he always will lose some material if he takes that. And due to my great move a6, the plan b4, b5 is stopped for now. So yeah, I wasn't particularly happy, but yeah, I don't think my position yet is too bad. But the problem with my position is probably that I don't have an active plan right now, because if I don't go c5, then yeah, it's really hard to find good moves here, or active moves. So I'm just waiting, and that's usually not a good thing in chess, to just wait and what your opponent does. In some cases it is good, but usually you should look for a plan and try to make it work. And yeah, here in this position I should have gone c5. My opponent played queen c2, putting more pressure on the c file, and I played rook a8 to protect my c6 pawn again and maybe push c5 someday, even though now it's really hard. And my opponent plays e4. Queen c2 prepared us also, so e4 is now often enough protected. And now I thought what to do, and I think I should exchange some pieces, and I don't think bishop f4 is too bad. Attacks the rook on c1 and attacks the bishop on g5, so I'm making sure I really trade those pieces off. The problem is I don't really want to take on e4, because bishop takes e4 puts even more pressure on c6, and now it's getting really tough to defend that pawn. And if I don't want to take on e4, then e5 is a huge threat, and my bishop is running out of squares, not completely of course, b4, e7 still, but of I would say good squares. So I decided to trade off the bishop on g5, which is a bit annoying because it takes away some squares. So yeah, bishop f4, bishop takes f4, queen takes f4, and now he goes e5. Completely logical move, and now I have a problem mentioned earlier. All my central pawns are on white squares, and my bishop is also on a white square, or I have to light square bishop. So it's really tough to activate this bishop, and that's a really weak piece, not doing much. But white's bishop on d3 is really good, because he has his pawns on, well, I don't want to make those arrows and stuff. Yeah, he has pawns on dark squares, and his bishop is on a light square, so yeah, that's good for him, and this bishop is really active. His pieces are active, his rooks are active. He's not winning yet, and I'm not losing yet, but it is not looking good for me. Okay, I play g6 to stop this bishop, or make this bishop not as strong as it is right now. And maybe I wanted to go knight d6 to pressure on d4. So my opponent chooses to go bishop f1, probably opening up the third rank for his rook to maybe play rook h3 or something, and to shuffle over the queen, maybe to e2 or to d3, whatever. And I played knight d6 as already mentioned. g3 attacking my queen. Another idea of bishop f1 of course was to protect his knight on f3, so he could possibly play g3. Also his bishop on d3 is not doing much because I've played g6, so he's probably planning to go bishop h3. So I played queen h6 to stop bishop h3, and honestly I don't have that many other squares, so I have to play queen h6 probably. Now he goes queen b3, and now I realized I have a really big problem, because the b5 pawn is hanging, the b6 pawn is hanging, and the only way to protect this pawn is to play pawn to b5, and now all my pawns are on white squares, and yeah, this bishop is just my trainer always calls this big pawn, or however it's called in English, I don't know, but yeah, this bishop is really terrible, and yeah, I was not proud of myself to put all my pawns on light squares, and yeah, here white is obviously much better, but okay, I don't, I can't give up the b6 pawn, so I have to play b5, and yeah, the mistake was made earlier by not playing c5. So my opponent plays slow, plays rook c2 back, maybe to play queen e3 or to, yeah, I don't know, just a waiting move probably. I played rook c7, doubling up on the c5, still dreaming of c5 someday. My opponent played h4. As I already mentioned, the bishop on d3 is on f1 is not really good on d3 because I played g6, so the idea is probably to play bishop h3, and yeah, this is prevented by me by playing queen h6, and usually in endgames it's really good structure, really flexible structure to play f2, g3, h3, h4. This is a really good structure in the endgame, so yeah, h4 is a good move, I think, preparing the good structure and bishop h3. So yeah, that's a good idea by him. I played rook e7, realizing that I will probably never play c5 in the near future because my opponent can always prevent that. So maybe my plan, my plan was to maybe play around the e file by playing f6 someday. So probably have to go like really weird moves like queen g7 or queen f8, or regroup my knight, or probably both. So I have to play queen g7 or queen f8 to prepare f6, and then I have to reroll, reposition my knight, and then I can play f6 and hope for the best. But yeah, as you already can hear, it's not going too well for me. Okay, my opponent played bishop h3. I went knight c7 because the worst case for me is that he can play bishop takes e6 here, or probably not the worst, but structurally speaking I think this is really bad then for me, because then I'm left alone with this bishop on b7, and yeah, this is really bad. And yeah, my pawn on c6 is also really weak, so I played knight, if he takes on e6, and you could argue that I can take back with the rook and someday play bishop c8, bishop f5, but the problem is that my c6 rook is c6 pawn is so weak that I probably never can play bishop c8, and so I should really keep my knight and try to the best case for me is probably to exchange this bishop against this bishop, but this is just dream thinking. I don't think I can realize that. Okay, he played knight g5 and I went queen g7, as I already mentioned, trying to play f6. He just went back to f3, so yeah, probably he thought that his knight is better on f3, and I agree with that. And okay, I have to mention that in this, now we are at the 28th move, and yeah, it's already time trouble, so yeah, the next moves are a bit suspicious from both sides. Okay, mainly from my side, but I played f5, and I thought if he doesn't take, then I close up the position, and then it's maybe hard to win for him because I have everything under control. And okay, he has this passed pawn on protected passed pawn on e5, but I thought if the position is closed as that, I might have a chance to hold the draw. But yeah, the position is obviously much better for him. But he just took on f6. I took back. Then he played knight e5. So actually, honestly speaking, I completely missed knight e5, which is really dumb, but okay, I had seconds on my clocks. So yeah, after e6, after he took on f6, I thought, yay, my rooks are really active now, but okay, after knight e5, I realized that I'm in trouble. So because my c6 pawn is hanging, knight is attacking him, and the rooks are attacking c6. And okay, the best choice for me is probably to go not knight d6, what I did, but sacrificing the exchange to get maybe some active play. And yeah, someday probably I can play c5 and then d4. Of course, this pawn those pawns will be hanging, but maybe my bishop will be strong on this diagonal, probably not. But indeed, it's the much stronger option to sacrifice the exchange, because that's the only way I can get active play, and you always should be looking for active play. And if I'm active, then my opponent is more likely to make mistakes. And yeah, my opponent is also in time trouble, so this would have been much better. The much better try. Still losing, but better try than knight e6. He took on c6. I took back, and after rook c6, I thought I could have taken on d4. Okay, but my position is slowly falling apart. The only reason why I played on is that my opponent is also really low on time. He played rook d1. I played queen e5. He took on d5. And now I played queen e2. And yeah, he's completely winning here because of the pin of my knight on e6, and yeah, my really passive rooks behind that. And in general, my pieces are really weak. I'm a pawn down, yeah, but okay, my opponent is low on time, so let's try to make some moves. He plays bishop f1. I took on b2. He played rook d2. I played queen b4. Always like hitting the rook, so that's where I didn't thought much in this position, but I was like, yeah, okay, I'm doing something. So maybe he would miss that. He played rook e2. Really strong move. Now I'm getting in trouble with my protecting the knight on e6, so bishop h3 is coming. But I played queen g4, so stopping bishop h3 and keeping an eye on the rook. But he simply can play rook e4. I played queen f3, so now his rook on e4 is pinned. But okay, bishop g2, and now I played queen f7. So eventually my knight can move, so I'm no longer pinned. But he simply can take on a6, and I played rook d8 to activate my rook. Queen b3 back, and now I played knight c5. This move looks really strong, or yeah, it looks really strong, but it actually isn't that good for me. I attack everything, almost everything white has, but I also have some problems. My queen on f7 is pinned, the rook on e7 is attacked, so white doesn't lose material. I saw that, but I thought knight c5 would have been, well, it's the best way to get rid of the pieces here. Okay, unlucky enough, I'm down a pawn here after this exchange, after those exchanges, and after rook b7 I have to trade more pieces. I really don't want to play rook b8, but okay, in this position I don't have any other choices. And yeah, this ending is just losing, and yeah, the rest of the game I will just show you quick, because my opponent showed really good technique. I tried to bring my king into the center. The better try would have been to at least somehow try to get my pawns off of light squares and put them on dark squares, so the bishop can't attack them. But okay, I tried something else. Well, made some other bad moves like king f5 and bring my king into the center to d6, but my pawn's still on light squares, so it's really easy to win that game. And yeah, my opponent showed good technique, and after some more moves I resigned. Yeah, so it was a pleasure to play against such a strong Grandmaster. I hope you liked the video. If you did, please make sure to like and subscribe. And I wish you the best. Until my next video, I wish you the best in your chess games. See you next time. Bye.